The ECW New Breed. Elijah Burke, Matt Striker, Kevin Thorn, and Marcus Corvon versus the ECW originals Sabu, Sandman, RVD, and Tommy Dreamer.
I kind of switched off a little bit in this one.
Yes.
Just kind of...
What a success the new ECW was. That of those 4 people, I don't believe one of them performed on a WrestleMania ever again.
No.
They also have the New Breed beaten by the originals.
Why would you do that?
I mean, that is booking 101. You know,
why do you keep doing this?
See, the New Breed, they're a pile of shit. You know, really well done. Metallica had offered their services for this WrestleMania.
All right.
And they said, we will happily perform Enter Sandman for free.
Cool.
When the Sandman makes his entrance.
Yeah.
They were turned down by Vince McMahon because he'd never heard of the band.
Nice.
True. There's a bit, they all come down through the audience, and Sabu is the one of them who is having none of this. I am a sports entertainer.
Yeah. And
everyone else is like high-fiving. And Sabu is all elbows the entire fucking way. Just fuck off. Really good. The New Breed is sort of worth talking about. I don't think we're going to see any of them in a WrestleMania again. Possibly Matt Striker we will hear from. After a quite promising start in WWE.
The former teacher, Matt Striker.
That's right.
As they mention in the commentary.
Yeah, it comes up a lot, that story. That was really the thing that got him signed.
Right.
Was that he was a teacher who had basically taken time off saying he was ill and he'd gone to wrestle. And it made national headlines. And I think that got him noticed.
Like George the Animal Steel.
Yes, although George was responsible enough to hold down that job.
Exactly.
Just denying to his students that he was George the Animal Steel. Which is funny as well, because it's not like George the Animal Steel had a different face.
No.
No. Do you think Coach Myers has a green tongue? It does look like a green tongue, yes. Well, I was up late last night, so didn't have time to scrape it off. The Matt Striker, after this sort of initially very, very promising early bit of commentary that he does, where everyone goes, God, he's really knowledgeable, he's really good at this, he quickly becomes one of the worst, most inept, and consistently awful commentators in wrestling history.
Wow.
It's an amazing switch where everyone was like, he's really good, to going, I can't listen to him. And he still sort of occasionally pops up on things.
Right.
And he's sort of incapable of, like, he just says things that aren't right. And he must know, but
that
he
they're
still
wrong.
plows on. Yeah. And it's just, some of it you can hear him making up as he goes along, which is just absolutely appalling. Elijah Burke, he was the last person to wrestle Chris Benoit.
Right, yeah.
They wrestled in ECW. He had a sort of like a build with this ECW Originals thing, and it just sort of fizzled out, really. He is one of the only people that you will... No, bollocks, he isn't. It's the other one. You see, they're so interchangeable, all of these forgotten men. So he actually was friends with the New Day. This is the thing. He went on to TNA.
Right.
He did not. He should have been a star. This guy, he was just this guy. I sound like Matt fucking Striker. I knew if I commented on someone being bad at commentary, there'd be a karmic like response. I thought it would be on the way home. I'd probably get stabbed in Highbury, and I was willing to do that for this podcast. But I realised it's come too quickly. Marcus Corvon, we'll move on to him. But he was a big guy. Again, one of those people you would have absolutely put money on being a star. Former NFL linebacker. He played in the Super Bowl for the Buffalo Bills. He becomes a wrestler. He has got a great look. He's a huge guy. He was known as Monty Brown in TNA.
Right.
Now, he goes to the WWE and he's there for 1 year. His Wikipedia, it starts, he's perhaps best known for his time with TNA. No one who has been in WWE has a Wikipedia page that says they're best known for something other than WWE.
Right.
WWE is the big thing. The fact he was in WWE for a year and it says he's best known for his time in TNA. He is absolutely 100% a forgotten man. Once his WWE career ended a year later, so about 2008, he just retired. That was it. He was done, and he now works as a personal trainer. And he was absolutely a cannot miss prospect. It's so odd. Again, this is part of this thing about 2007. They are handed talent on a plate, and nothing seems to stick. Your Kennedys, your Marcus Corvons, your Elijah Burks. These guys could have been something, and yet they just couldn't get them. I don't understand what went wrong, but they just couldn't do it. You've got Kevin Thorn on this bit as well, who is a vampire. He was introduced for the ECW, which was on the Sci-Fi Network, and it's a slight nod to that. He'd originally had a run in Memphis as a character called Seven, which was based on the 7 deadly sins.
Right, okay.
Sloth would be a really bad one to use. And then he had a very brief run as a character called Mordecai in the WWE, who was like a sort of fundamentalist, all-white clad reflection of the Undertaker. And the idea was he would be this sort of weird crusading, sort of like white goth character that would have a big pay-per-view match with the Undertaker. And he had one match against Hardcore Holly, and it was so bad they were like, we're going to scrap all of this.
Right.
They bring him back a bit later as a vampire, you know. So here he is. What's the vampire's name? Kevin Thorn. Kevin's one of those names that the American think is really British, in the same way that we think like Chad. All Americans are called Chad. Yeah. But all Americans are called Chad. Right? I can think of wrestlers that are called Chad, right? At least 3.
Yeah.
So that proves it. But Americans have the thing of just going, he's a vampire, so what would his name be? Well, it would be Lord Ian Bumholes. You know,
Lord Ian Duncan Smith, the vampire.
So he's made into a vampire. Out he comes with his escort Ariel, who is played by a woman called Shelly Martinez. After this little run in ECW, they send him back to development. They say, will you want to sign a new contract? He says, no, not really. He disappears. Right. This is a really sort of hard sort of period for people to connect. And it's just a weird thing about what was happening in WWE at the time, that all of these people, they were just like, fuck, I don't know. Make him a vampire. You know, he's called Sir Henry Tidwillider.
Has there ever been a successful vampire character? I can't think of one.
Well, Fred Blassie was nicknamed the Vampire Fred Blassie, but he would actually then chew on people's foreheads.
Yes,
but no, when you get into the world of the supernatural, I mean, you end up having like the Mummy, the
Universal
Hulk Hogan,
right?
You know,
Universal monsters, kind of like the Mummy, the Frankenstein's monster, all that. You know, all that stuff is like.
I think it's one of those things. I imagine in the 50s, there was Gene LaBelle's promotion had a thing called The Monster. And it was like in the early 70s. And they went on television and went, I've created a monster in my lab and he can't be beaten. And he lost all of his television. They were like, what a disgusting display. And it's different times. But it is that sort of funny thing of people had a sort of like, there is a limit to what we'll accept.
Yes.
This is all predetermined, but please don't say you're dead.
Do you think on a man this skinny that I would waste one of my great finishing holds? Get up and get out of here, you dwarf! Stuart, we're ready now. Thank you.
There's a little one of those all grown up bits that they do as well with Stone Cold that comes up after here. And he says the line, he just goes, now I'm all grown up. I've been opening cans of whoop ass ever since. And it just sounds like a Werther's original advert. It really does.
Now, I'm all grown up. And I've been opening cans of whoop ass ever since.
Ever since I was knee-high to a grasshopper and granddad, all that. It just sounds so hokey, I can't tell you.
I remember thinking I must be someone real special for my grandfather. Open a can of whoop-ass.
I remember the first time I opened a can of whoop-ass with my grandfather. I loved him so much, it was the day he died. The Divas Lumberjill match, Ashley Massaro versus Melina. This is very much the height of the period where they are divas, where everything is, there's a belt that's like a butterfly. It's just, these are models who we're not even going to pretend they wrestle. They can go out there and they'll hold it together enough, but you're not going to enjoy it.
Right,
But you know what you will enjoy? Oh, look, fishnet. Oh, little bit of cleavage. Oh, imagine what they'd look like naked. Once a year you get to see it in Playboy. Ashley Massaro comes out. She is the Playboy cover girl at this period. So that's why they have to pop her onto WrestleMania.
I mentioned that I had an interest in shooting Playboy, and they said, well, that's funny because they have an interest in shooting you.
What makes Ashley appropriate for the spread is that she's obviously a beautiful, sexy woman, and she has this hardcore edge to her.
Ashley is a superstar. She has so much energy and so much life.
When she gets on set, she comes alive.
she gets the women's champion Melina. And they say, well, Melina's jealous of Ashley because she's not getting as much attention as her. And again, that mentality of that the women are doing this, the only possible beef they could have is that
the men are looking at her.
Yeah, I want men to look at me. I want more men looking at me.
But Melina is dressed like, who was the favourite, who's...
Margarita Prakatan.
She looks like the barbarian. Like she's dressed like a little bit like the barbarian.
She started as a valet for the tag team M&M.
Incredible hair as well. Very thick.
Let me say what Wikipedia says. Famed for her flexibility, utilised during her entrance and her in-ring manoeuvres, Perez, that's her surname, Melina Perez, was called one of the best wrestlers in the world by Bret Hart and cited by WWE as having perhaps the most impressive arsenal of offensive manoeuvres in WWE history. Now, I don't know if Melina edits her own Wikipedia page.
But it sure sounds like she does.
But one of the most famous things about Melina is her personal life, and absolutely no judgment on this. She used to, I believe, go around with John Morrison. I think she had an extracurricular affair with Batista, which at the time is very well reported. There was always a suggestion that Vince McMahon had never pushed John Morrison very hard because he didn't like this thing of his wife being known to be seeing another wrestler,
right,
or his fiance or girlfriend or whatever it is. But irrelevant from that. That's all just horrible, gossip about what adults can do. They're more than welcome to do. But there is no personal life section on Melina's Wikipedia,
right?
And that seems like something that must be continually being deleted.
Yeah.
So I can't understand why someone without a dog in the fight would be continually going, I do not wish for a decade-old rumour and scuttlebutt to be put on this Wikipedia page.
Yeah.
You will love this because Melina is one of the few people we know who were sentenced to face the Undertaker at Wrestler's Court.
What's she done?
Melina's backstage heat and attitude was a huge problem for her throughout her career. It probably led to her release, and it's the reason why they never really particularly brought her back. She was compared a lot to Sunny being a real problem behind the scenes. Some of that, obviously, when you hear about those sort of personal issues that you won't read about on Wikipedia, is behind that. But she did face Wrestler's Court. It's the unofficial forum among talent for the policing of wrestlers that violate the rules and traditions of the company. Her ill-behaved manners persisted following Wrestler's Court, and she found herself transferred from SmackDown to Raw, so they moved her from shows. She was said to have had issues with veteran female talent. She was kicked out by Lita early in her career, made to change in the hallway because she was such a pain. She then, when she became more of a veteran herself, she would continually kick people out and make them change in the hallway. She was involved in a backstage altercation with Sharmell after Batista had a fist fight with Booker T that was genuine, a bit of a shoot thing. And there was a woman totally forgotten called Taryn Terrell, who was known as Tiffany, and she was a Diva Search contestant in 2007, so in this year. And she said that WWE personnel actually warned her about Melina, saying she was the one diva who will give her problems. So Melina seemed to be a little bit of a heat-seeking missile. They also revealed in an interview their match almost didn't happen.
Why? Because they couldn't figure out what a lumberjill was.
Ashley had broken her foot in training about a week before, and so they spent the entire WrestleMania by the gorilla position, which is where the curtain is, sort of waiting there to find out if they were going to have to go on.
Oh my word!
And an agent came up to them and just said, "Yeah, I think we've got time to squeeze you in." Anyway, they shouldn't have bothered. The match is,
nonsense.
This is representation at the time in 2007, just going, let's put all the women out there. They can all, look pretty around the ring, and we'll have a match that everyone knows will tank, and it will be appalling, and we'll put it on anyway.
Yeah.
And it does. Ashley was reportedly in tears backstage after the match, saying she knew it was awful and she was really, really upset about it.
Right.
There's nothing good about this match. It's the saddest one on the fucking thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. Just endlessly depressing.
Oh, it's going to be funny, lumberjills. Oh, that's a funny word. No. Wrestler's Court, horrible allegations.
Jeez.
Early death.
I was just trying to find on a dodgy Wi-Fi connection what things had been deleted. To be honest, it's mostly championship belt changes and incorrect information about championship, but then there's a lot... Yeah, there's a lot of entries about her personal life, Melina Perez. So, yeah, well done.
Yeah.
Well done, diligent men of the internet.
She's like the only wrestler that doesn't have personal life section. Come on.